ध्यायेत् शारदचन्द्रसुन्दरमुखम् ताम्रारविन्देक्षणम् भक्ताभीष्टवराभयप्रदकरम् कौपीनमात्रोज्ज्वलम् स्वात्मानन्दरसानुभूतिविवशम् सर्वानवद्याङ्गकम् श्रीमन्तं श्रीरमणेश्वरं गुरुवरं योगासनाध्यासितं ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणेश्वरं ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणेश्वरं ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणेश्वरम् हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् यहमहमिति साक्षात् आत्मरूपेण भाति हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वतामज्जतव पवनचलनरोधा आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वम्। Namo Ramana. We will commence today's evening Atma Vichara by listening to Bhagavan's Upadesham. As we have been doing, I'll be reading from the book Ramana Answers, Self-Enquiry 1900 to 1950, a compilation of all the questions put to Bhagavan on the subject matter of Atma Vichara and answered by him. It's been compiled by our founder president, Sri A.R. Natarajanji. We have come to the 76th question. After meditating on this question and answer, we will have a 20-minute Atma Vichara, self-enquiry practice session. After that, Sharda Akka would be talking about Atma Vichara from Ramana Gita. And then we can take up any questions if there are any. And finally, we will have the concluding prayers. The 76th question is put by the devotee as this. There are said to be 6 organs of different colors in the chest, of which the heart is said to be 2 finger breadths to the right of the middle line. But the heart is also formless. Should we then imagine it to have a shape and meditate on it? I repeat the question. There are said to be 6 organs of different colors in the chest, of which the heart is said to be 2 fingers breadths to the right of the middle line. But the heart is also formless. Should we then imagine it to have a shape and meditate on it? Bhagavan says no. Only the quest, who am I, is necessary. What remains all through deep sleep and waking is the same. But in waking, there is unhappiness and the effort to remove it. Asked who wakes up from sleep, you say, I. If it is done, the eternal being will reveal itself. Investigation of I is the point and not meditation on the heart center. I repeat Bhagavan's answer. Bhagavan says no. No to the question of whether one should imagine a shape and meditate. Bhagavan says no. And he says only the quest, who am I, is necessary. What remains all through deep sleep and waking is the same. But in waking there is unhappiness and the effort to remove it. Asked, who wakes up from sleep, you say, I. If it is done, the eternal being will reveal itself. Investigation of I is the point and not meditation on the heart center. Bhagavan is very clearly helping us to free ourselves from imagination. We don't really understand that everything is just sheer imagination that we are dealing with. And each of these imagination is only, as Bhagavan is saying, is only bringing unhappiness. And it is not revealing that natural happiness of the self. And therefore, we are putting a lot of effort to remove this unhappiness. Bhagavan therefore says, even to know the heart, or to meditate on the heart like an object, if one again imagines it to have some shape, then again that also needs to be transcended to really experience the natural happiness. So Bhagavan says very clearly, one should not make any such effort of imagining the heart center, even for the purpose of meditation, because even by the very act of meditation, we'll be making it as an object to be meditated upon. Therefore, Bhagavan says no. He says we should hold on to this one single question, who am I? Who wants to meditate? Who is aware of this heart center? Who is saying it is formless? Who is that who wants to imagine? If we hold on to this one question and go to that source, because Bhagavan's teaching is there is absolutely only self. And this I, the individual, is the first division that has happened. And it is because of not investigating on this first division and not understanding that this first division is the cause of all unhappiness, is all the cause for all the effort. It is all the thing that makes us seek happiness, though happiness is our natural state. Because this understanding is not clear, rather, we take that I to be very real, this I to be this individual body, mind, name, form, identity, and to this we want to know that, from this we want to know the truth, for this we want to understand the truth, and for this we want the happiness to be experienced. But we have never understood that this first division really is causing us to put effort to know, put effort even to get the happiness. Happiness is our natural state. And this first division is bringing, or this first imagination is creating such a such a web of imagination that we need to put again another effort. We need to know, we need to do, to experience which is so natural. And Bhagavan, being the most compassionate one, is very, very clearly saying, don't have to imagine, don't have to put any effort, don't have to do any meditation. All you need to do is inquire, who am I? That is all which is necessary. When we do that, he gives an aid also. He says that because the truth is unchanging and the truth cannot be two. It's not that one truth, there are two truths, then each become relative. Therefore, the truth is one and it should be always present. Therefore, when we inquire, who am I, we should reach the truth. And that truth is also there in the waking as well as in the sleep as well as in the dream. It is only that this trouble that we are experiencing of the missing of the natural happiness is only in this waking state. Why? Because of this first division, I, that has been given the reality, and further holding that division, we are trying to seek happiness outside. First of all, the I itself is an imagination which is not natural, and then the I thought, that individual idea, and holding that, further imaginations are being given reality. But Bhagavan is saying, in all that we are trying to do in this waking state, when we come to sadhana, is only to remove that unhappiness, remove all the effort, so that we can get back to the effortless, the truth. Therefore, the real question we need to ask is not to deal with so much of this effort or so much of this unhappiness, because it has all arisen because of the first division, the primary division, that is I. We should simply inquire, who am I? In Brahma Muhurtam, we can very clearly see that if the I rises, the identity is given a reality, we can experience that, everything becomes now a knowledge, not an experience. I can only say, I had a wonderful meditation, or it's like always pointing to something, but not the actual experience. So it becomes very clear that the I, the first division, is the source of all the problem that we are going through. So we should simply tackle that foremost thing. We need not have to do anything else. No need to have any huge knowledge about anything. Just the I, and make sure that it doesn't rises. And how does it rise? It rises only in the form of thought. And as soon as all thoughts are nothing but that individual I only. So therefore Bhagavan says, asked who wakes up from sleep, you say I. So he says that we are aware there was a state where there was not even this identity. And then we say this I has arisen, and then the unhappiness, and then the whole sadhana. If it is done, the eternal, if we inquire, who am I, constantly keep inquiring, who am I, then because the eternal being is the actual truth which alone is, and this imagination, this I being just an imagination, it becomes clear that this I imagination makes all the unhappiness, and when it is not entertained, what remains is just the eternal being, or we can say the eternal being reveals itself and shows that it is such an effortless thing, it is such a natural thing in us. So, investigation of the I is the point. Therefore, Bhagavan says that is the most important thing, not the meditation on the heart center, not to meditate on any imaginative heart center, because already we have been troubled by this first imagination I. There is no point in going on further imagining anything. Rather, we should question that first imagination. Or Bhagavan says it's because of the first imagination that all other further imagination seems to have some validity in the form of thoughts. Bhagavan asks us to categorically question all thoughts. And when we do so, we see that it is all for this I, this individual. And when we inquire, who am I? Really try to go to the source of the I, or whatever gives reality to this I, or whatever we refer to as really I. When we investigate, diving in to the source of the I, then that one truth which is there alone will be found. There cannot be any doubt in it. And every time we ask this, who am I? We reach the truth alone. And by repeated practice, Bhagavan assures that one gains enough strength to start being one with the truth, or start letting go all these things which makes us move away from our natural state. And therefore Bhagavan says the mind gains enough strength to remain at the source itself. The immense grace of Bhagavan. For the next 20 minutes, let us do Atma Vichara. In Atma Vichara, no matter how many thoughts rises within us, whatever may be the quality of the thought, we diligently inquire to whom is this. And it obviously reveals it is for me. And therefore we should inquire, who am I? What do I really refer to as I? Or where from this I thought rises within me? When we investigate to the source of the I, as Bhagavan says, the truth alone is there and it reveals itself. And with repeated practice, the mind will gain enough strength to remain in that truth alone. The immense grace of Bhagavan. For the next 20 minutes, let us do Atma Vichara. Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana. Over to Sharadaka.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana. Shining as the self in all beings. By the immense grace of that self, manifest as Ramana, we have been able to delve into the teachings, specifically into the path of self-inquiry, and also to sit for the practice of self-inquiry. We are now continuing the manana, meditation on Bhagavan's teachings through the meditation on the Ramana Gita. Last time we had completed the manana on the first chapter, which is Upasana Pradhanya Nirupanam. It is titled as Upasana Pradhanya Nirupanam, the establishment of the importance of self-abidance. Normally, upasana would be defined as practice, but Bhagavan has defined it as self-abidance. So it is the importance of the practice of self-abidance with which the Ramana Gita begins. And in this second chapter, we have the very unique and special verse, which is given by Bhagavan himself directly. The second chapter is not one which has questions and answers. It has just a verse from Bhagavan, and that is the Eka Shloki of Bhagavan. And Muni has dedicated this chapter to the Eka Shloki. Recently, in a discussion with G. Kameshwar, he was saying that this Eka Shloki, most of us know the history of it, that when in the Virupaksha days, Jagadishwara Shastri, then a young man in his late teens or the beginning 20s, he was regularly with Bhagavan and almost practically with him all the time. And he one day just started a verse in Sanskrit with the words Hridaya Kuhara Madhye. Hridaya Kuhara Madhye. In the center of the heart cave. These words he wrote. And further, he was not getting any words. And he simply left the paper there with Bhagavan and went away. This is a practice with many of the devotees whenever they could not complete the verse, or if they had completed it. Basically, it didn't matter. That is the beautiful part here. Whether the work was complete or incomplete, it was simply left with Bhagavan. And of course, if it was incomplete, or if there was any doubt regarding the verse, then Bhagavan cleared that doubt. It had happened with Muruganar Swami also. When Muruganar Swami was writing the Ramana Puranam, and he was not sure how to entitle it, whether to call it Shiva Puranam or Ramana Puranam, and he left the verses with Bhagavan. And Bhagavan put the title Ramana Puranam on all the pages of the manuscript and also added several verses to it. So, in this case, Jagadishwara Shastri wrote the words Hridaya Kuhara Madhye and left them with Bhagavan. And when he came back, Bhagavan had completed that beautiful shloka which we recite at the beginning of every satsang as part of the Muktakatraya. It is one of the slokas in the Muktakatraya. Or independently also, today also, Dilip had recited the shloka as is customarily done by him at the beginning of the satsang. So Bhagavan had completed it, the shloka, and he wrote at the end of it, he wrote Jagadisha. He wrote Jagadisha. Now, and he gave it to Jagadishwara Shastri when he came back. Jagadisha means Lord of the universe. But it is also the name of Jagadishwara Shastri. Jagadishwara Shastri said, I have not written this word. Bhagavan said, it is written by Jagadisha only. And Jagadishwara Shastri smiled and said, okay, Bhagavan, since you have put my name, I will keep this verse. And it is said, J. Kameshwar, based on his research, was sharing that Jagadishwara Shastri misplaced the paper somewhere. The verse was in fact lost. And during this period of the question answers which happened in Ramana Gita, one of the days, which is recorded by Muni, the first verse over here, he says, Isha putra shake bana bhumi nandadhara mite. So bhumi nandadhara is referring to the 1900s and 1910 odd. The first questioning was, it happened in 1913. Now this one is happening in 1915, this conversation. And it is said that the Muni remembered this shloka by Bhagavan and requested him to compose the shloka. Jagadishwara Shastri was also present, and Bhagavan recalled the whole shloka, and it was recorded by the Muni as part of the second chapter over here. So this is the verse. Hridaya kuhara madhye kevalam brahma matram hyaham maham iti sakshat atmarupena bhati hridi visha manasa swam chinvata majjatava pavana chalana rodhat atmanishto bhavatvam. This is the verse, and actually, as a preamble to this, Muni has said, Isha putra shake bana bhumi nanda dharamite in the year 1915 of the Son of God, that is in the year 1915 after Christ. Chaturmasye jagau saram sangrihya bhagavan rishihi. Chaturmasye is in the rainy season in which we are now presently. It is called the Ashada. It's called the month of Ashada. And it is the time when, because it is the rainy season, the parifrajakas, the ones who have renounced and are wandering monks, the sannyasis who are wandering monks are adjoined, are asked to remain in one place. Actually, they should not remain in one place at all for more than 3 days. That is the normal rule for a parivrajaka. He will be moving from place to place, never stay in one place. But during the Chaturmasya, which is normally a period of 3 months, so it's called the 4-month period. And 3 to 4 months at that time, because the monsoons in India can spread from around 4 months, but the crux of that period comes in Guru Purnima, or it starts with the Guru Purnima, or what is called the Vyasa Purnima. It starts with that period of Chaturmasya. So it is also a period where the Guru is invoked. And in this period, at this time, at this very sacred time, that essence of everything, Saram Sangrihya Bhagavan Rishihi. So Bhagavan gave the essence. So Sri R. Natarajan says it's like this: in the rainy season of 1915, Bhagavan Ramana Rishi stated the essence of his teachings in a verse. That's how Muni begins. Then the verse comes. Hridaya Kuhara Madhye. In the center of the heart cave. Hridaya Kuhara Madhye. These words were given to Bhagavan already. So, he is, one may say these are his words, or these are the words he impelled Jagadishwara Shastri to give. So, he is talking about the cave of a heart, the cave. And in that cave, Kuhara, the heart cave, Hridaya Kuhara, Madhye, in the very center of that, Kevalam Brahma Matram. The Brahman alone, Kevalam, that alone. Kevalam Brahma Matram. The Brahman alone, Kevalam Brahma Matram hi. That's why it comes Hyaham Aham. Hi Aham Aham. Kevalam Brahma Matram hi. Aham iti Sakshat Atma Rupena Bhati. As I, the absolutely self-evident, making itself self-evident with the Spurana I. With that, it is shining. Bhati, it is shining. What? The Kevalam Brahmamatram hi. Only the Brahman alone is shining and manifesting as Aham. Aham iti Sakshat Atma Rupena Bhati. So Bhagavan says that. And then what does he go on to say? Bhagavan always gives not only the final state, but also the path to abide in that. That is always his compassion. And we find that expressed even in the verse where the devotee asks him, Amritanatha asks him, I think Yoganatha, he asks him, who are you, Bhagavan? And Bhagavan answers him in the Malayalam verse, because he asks in a Malayalam verse. And Bhagavan answers in a Malayalam verse, saying that Hariyadi itara jeeva radhavari jaguhayil arivairami paramatman arunachala ramanan. That which is shining is consciousness in the hearts. Ahavarija guhayil. There also, Bhagavan has used the heart cave. What has he said? Hariyadi itara jeeva radhavarija guhayil. So, it is not just that the heart cave is an expression which Jagadishwara Shastri gave to him. Bhagavan himself has used the heart cave. But then he says, Varija guhayil. There he says, in the heart, in the cave of the heart lotus. Arivai Rami Paramatman, that supreme being, Paramatma, is sporting. There he uses the word sporting. Arivai Rami. It is sporting as what? As consciousness. Arivai. As absolute consciousness. And that is Arunachala Ramana. Arivai Rami Paramatman Arunachala Ramanan. So here he is saying Kevalam Brahmamatram Aham iti sakshat atmarupena bhati. That is the arivu. That aham iti, the shining of the I is the manifestation of the consciousness. And in that shloka, now there Bhagavan could have stopped. So this is what is Arunachala Ramana. Arunachala Ramana is that absolute consciousness. But he doesn't stop there. He says, Parival ulamuruganala paranandide guhayarndu. He says, with your heart melting with love, you try to seek within this heart cave. Parival ulamuruganala paranandide guhayam. When you go into that, when you search for it, then Arivam Vidi Tirava. Then what will happen is the eye of knowledge will be opened. The EYE, eye of knowledge, will be opened. Nijamariva Adiveliya. And you will know the vast expanse of truth. So, Bhagavan even there gives the path. Bhagavan gives the path of inquiry everywhere. It is a stamp, it's mudra. Like the Raja Mudra, the insignia of the king, of the emperor of this universe, Ramana, is the who am I, the enquiry, the stamp of enquiry. So he puts it there. In fact, he puts it even in his prayer to Arunachala for Mother Aragamma's recovery. He is praying to Arunachala. Alaya varipiravi attanayum matra malaya எழுந்த மருந்தே தலைவா நின்றாள் கதியாய் வாழுமென்தாய் தாபம் மாற்றிய ஆழ்வது முன்கடனேயாம். I have surrendered to you. It is up to you to take care of her. You have to send away that death because you are the one who sent him away with your feet. Just one kick of your feet. All this he says, and then he says, send away death. Then he finishes that second charana with the words, Arayir kalanume yaar. If one inquires, then who is death? Who is death? So there also he puts this mudra of self-inquiry. So here, in this verse as well, Bhagavan doesn't stop by saying, Kevalam brahmamatram hi aham iti sakshat atmarupena bhati. He says, Hridivisha. Enter that heart. Hridivisha, how to enter? Manasa. Hridivisha manasa. Enter the heart using the mind. Because that's the only instrument that we have. We have to use the mind. The mind is, therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says, the mind is one's best friend. Also the worst enemy. But it is the best friend as well. And Bhagavan actually goes even further by saying that the mind is Adishaya Shakti. It's a very wondrous power of the self. It's a self itself in expression, provided it is in association with the self. But when it gets associated with objects, then it becomes corrupted. It becomes soiled. It gets polluted. By nature, it is pure. So it has to be weaned from its association with objects. How? By entering the heart. Hridivisha manasa. Enter the heart. How? Swam chinvata. By inquiring into the nature of the I. or meditating on the nature of the I, Swam Chinvata Majjata, by diving into the heart and by merging in the heart, and Pavana Chalana Rodhat. It is in this verse also, there will be, it is or, because the Muni has titled the chapter as 3 parts. In the subsequent verses, he will say that Bhagavan has given these as 3 parts, but he also says the 3 parts are one and the same. And we have seen with Nandakumar ji in our journey in Bhagavan's Anubandham, Ulladu Narpad Anubandham, Bhagavan uses the control of breath as something along with which one has to do Chinvata and Majjata. That is to say, the breath control is an adjunct to whatever path one takes. And this Bhagavan has indicated also in his Ulladu Narpad. So, he says these are the paths he delineates, and Atmanishto Bhavatva. By doing this, become Atmanishta. Chinvata va, Majjata va. You can do anything. You can even control the breath. But what is the goal? Never forget the goal. Atmanishto Bhava. Very often, in my earlier years, I have heard plenty of discussions about this Ekashloki. We will, of course, go into it as delineated by the Muni. And also, one publication is there from the Ramanacentre Center, in which one of our senior devotees who was with us earlier, C. Sudarshanam, has done a small research project kind of on this verse. We will delve into that as well. But when this verse was being discussed in our many seminars held at Ramanacentre Center for Learning in the 1980s, 80, 81, 82, and it used to be discussed, and I would wonder listening to all that, and I thought the crucial phrase is not Swam Chinvata, Majjata, Pavarachalana Rodhat, whether Va means or, Va means and, not all that, but it is Atmanishto Bhavatvam. Like in the Upadesha to Mother Aragamma, Bhagavan finishes Maunamai Irikkai Nandru. It is not to debate whether fate and free will are high or low or strong or weak, but Maunamai Irikkai Nandru. Similarly, over here, Bhagavan is telling us Atmanishto Bhavatvam, Atmanishto Bhava. Through the practice of inquiry or through the practice of merger in the self, remain as the self. And I used to feel, it's almost as if Bhagavan is pleading with us. It doesn't matter, my children, do whatever you feel like. You want to take this path? Take it. You want to take that path? Take it. You want to take a third path? Take it. You want to call it 2 or 3 paths? Do so. But never forget that the goal, the main point is to remain in the self, to be Atmanishta. And it's also his blessing. I feel it's also his blessing. Wherever you go, you will come back here. You will come back here to me to abide in the self. That is the purpose. That is the purpose I am telling you all this. That is the purpose for which I am here with you. Atmanishto Bhava. You know, when the elderly people in those days used to bless those who did namaskaram to them. They would say Chiranjeevi Bhava, Dirgha Saubhagyavati Bhava. So become this was a blessing. And here we have Bhagavan's blessing to all of us, saying, Atmanishto Bhava. What more do we need to ask for? Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
Very beautiful, Akka. Thank you. Apara Satchit Sukhavarirashi Yasyormimatram Bhuvanam Samastam Guhahitam Tam Ramanam Gabhiram Chintavihinam Hridi Chintayami Chintavihinam Hridi Chintayami. Namo Ramana. Thank you all. Thank you.
Namo Ramana.